successful, a marketer must know who are the brands or organizational customers in the past, who are the current customers, who are the competitors' customers, who could be our ideal customers, and how can the organization and its various stakeholders identify them, approach them, talk to them, and influence them. With improvement in our perceived understanding of the marketing process, it would have been expected that target profiling would be an area of excellence in the field of marketing or branding for healthcare, wellness, and other brands. But unfortunately, that is not so. So, in ordinary course, the target audience profile for a given brand usually includes the name, the address, the degree, the specialization, the area of practice, and at the most, the number and type of patients being seen by a doctor. Of course, we are classifying them as per their practice as consulting physicians, general physicians, family physicians, or given specialists. And that is all. But is it enough? The answer obviously is no. So let us see some additional dimensions that should be ideally part of the profiling process of our target customers. For example, one dimension that should be given importance to is the years of experience or depth of experience in managing a given disease or treatment process. Does the doctor has any affiliations with any institution? Has he or she got some recognition, some rewards, or some special training in a given area of disease management? Is the doctor having some teaching experience? What about thought leadership? And whether the specialist concerned is a thought leader, a key opinion leader, a decision influencer, to say the least. All these are very important dimensions as part of the profiling process. Some other areas that should be included in target audience profiling are cost sensitivity. Is the doctor a value for money seeker, or the prescriber wants to have the least cost solution to the problem that he or she is trying to address? Whether they have a tendency to go for symptomatic management, or whether the specialist is really seeking to obliterate or eliminate the root cause which is leading to the disease situation. Another area that we should include in the profiling is the degree of influence that a prescriber has to sustain while making a decision. For example, affiliations with institutions necessitate adhering to the institutional protocols, or pharmacy list is not so inclusive, so that they are forced to use only the molecules or the brands that are available in their pharmacy. Another point is whether the physician or the specialist is a decision influencer or a follower of some thought leader. That is also important. Another point is the type of practice. If it is an aggregate of multiple stakeholders, will naturally mean that there are multiple factors to be considered while making a decision for prescribing a given product or brand. All this should be part of target audience profiling. One important area is the bonding that the doctor has. For example, a family physician would have a very high degree of bonding with his or her patients. On the flip side, an institutional practitioner will have a very high degree of bonding with the institutional norms and would rather have relatively lesser bonding with the patients. Does it influence their decision making? Of course. Does it mean a differential potential for our brand? Maybe. Our profiling should also take into account the high interest area of the physician or the specialist. For example, some doctors are comfortable with freshly diagnosed cases, while others are more open to referred cases, to complicated cases, for cases with multiple comorbidities, or highly specialized referral cases where multiple specialists have to coordinate with each other to manage the disease process or to manage the treatment. Another point is whether the doctor has a leaning towards pharmacological approach or towards an interventionalist approach for managing the disease process. Another important point is the patient load. That does not mean only the number of patients, but that should also tell us the proportion of freshly diagnosed, the proportion of chronic patients, the proportion of complicated cases in the total number of cases being managed by a specialist or a family physician. While managing a disease, how much importance do they really attach to complications, to metabolic derangements, to target organ involvement and their affected functions? So such things must be understood also. We must also understand the physician's acceptance or denial of the disease prognosis, of the seriousness of the disease. Whether the physician or the specialist is considering the treatment to be sufficiently effective, to be making a meaningful difference in the disease management process. Moreover, how does the specialist see the prognosis being changed with the intervention being suggested, with the treatment being suggested, with adequate treatment, without adequate treatment, with poor control of the disease, or with very tight control of the metabolic or other parameters, disease parameters that may be relevant, propensity of the patients to develop comorbidities or to develop complications, mortality, morbidity, survival length, and ultimately the quality of life. We should also consider the management approach being utilized to manage relapse cases, recrudescence, treatment failure, inadequate response to treatment, so on and so forth. Another important point is sensitivity to and awareness about the adverse drug reactions that the treatment modalities might cause. Another point is whether the target doctor sticks to conventional approach to disease management process or is open to new insights, new protocols, new benchmarks in managing a disease. We should also take into account the use of adjuvant medicines. Does the doctor or the prescriber stick only to the mainline treatment, or he or she also allows the adjuvant drugs to ensure a better quality of life, to reduce side effects, or to manage multiple etiologies associated with the disease. Use of combinations is another area that we should account for while profiling the doctor. Some doctors prefer individual drugs, fearing drug interactions or reduction in bioavailability of individual drugs. Others, for the sake of convenience, allow some combinations, and some other doctors, for improving patient adherence, ensure that they generally stick to combinations to reduce number of pills. Approach to treatment might also differ. It could be a conventional approach, it could be a syndromic management approach, and some would rather prefer interventional procedures to ensure treatment success. The point that some physicians prefer to use medicines only in compelling or FDA approved indications, while others are more tolerant of recently emerging evidence and may try the product or the medicine in some indications which might have been accepted in the formulary or in the algorithm by at least some countries but may not have been globally accepted. While some physicians would be happy with symptomatic managements, yet other class of physicians would look for life prolonging benefits or disease modifying benefits before they touch any treatment modality. Yet another issue could be acceptance to alternative modes of treatment, alternative systems of healthcare, and even in some cases use of biologicals which might still be under documentation process. Prescribers can differ in their acceptance of which stage of disease is appropriate for treatment. Prophylactic use to prevent disease to happen. Treatment started when the disease is yet asymptomatic, or treatment started when at least the initial symptoms appear, or waiting till there is at least some preliminary evidence of target organ involvement or severe metabolic derangement before treatment is started. And yet others may still prefer to adhere to lifestyle or dietary modification to manage a disease which may not be considered very severe.